This Caucasian woman, she was in Uganda, and they're getting ready for the, this charity event that they always do, Comic Relief, that's correct. And she actually had a picture of her holding up a baby, one of our African family, of course the image that was portrayed on her social media, and that's where it kind of spilled out and kicked off a response, which ended up on LBC and people talking about it on the news. That and the MP for Tottenham, Mr. Lammy, made comments pertaining to the fact that this slave syndrome of white saviour. And she's holding this baby up, and of course, there's for Comic Relief, they always do it. They always send these celebrities to promote Comic Relief or aid, into these deprived areas of the world. And it created a whole euphoria on LBC and people commenting. I did listen to some of it, but not much, but because growing up in England for many, many years, we saw a lot of these images when I was growing up in my young years, and even up until now, present time, you still see the same image being put out there. Donate £1 or £2 so we can get a water filtration unit into this area, or £1 or £2 for blankets, or whatever it is. But then the same thing is the same. You could say, what do they call it? Where the whole picture never changes. This whole image never changes. The whole program never changes. We've got this white saviour coming talking about what's happening in that part of the world, and we need your donation. And it kicked off a whole image again a whole arguments on social media, on LBC radio, and many others. But we're taught in the nation, we're taught that there's nothing new under the sun. We're taught by the Allah, there's nothing new under the sun. And the fact that one of the responses that came back from Ms. Dooley was to David Lammy, why don't you go and do it? And so again, it's this whole idea that we as possibly as black people don't do enough here in the West to go and support our own. And I've looked, from the basis of the teachings, we never put ourselves in this situation. Let's go to the root of the problem. You see, because all you've done all the time is drop this surface level kind of view, that, okay, we've gone there. Well, just to say, I heard a brother on the radio talking about the whole situation, and then they flipped over to this white man who said, these situations really get my back up, really gets his back up. I've gone over to Africa. I've brought people over to Africa to help help the people over there, and to hear the comment from this person talking about how this image has always been, and I was like, you see, it's just surface. It's all surface. You never really want to get to the root cause of the problem. And every time we try to point out what we called racists, we're called haters. But then we're trying to get to the root of the problem so we can deal with it properly. Yes. Now, if like we know, Uganda and many African countries have the raw material that you benefit from in the West, why isn't that pulled into the African countries to help them stand on their own 2 feet? But then, of course, what you look for is a horrible dictator. So you got a brother, Alvin Muhammad, a horrible dictator. What do you want to do with the horrible dictator? You want to get rid of the dictator. So what do? You get beautiful brother Floyd to come in and say, listen, we can actually give you some money to go and help establish business for us, and we'll help you get rid of ugly brother Alvin, dictator. Get rid of them. What do? Then you, of course, you make that person look terrible in the world's eye. It's the same, that's the word I was looking for, modus operandi. That's right. It never changes. And then we as a people, have created our own madness because we go to sleep. And there's only a few actually, fighting the cause, I should say. But we have a leader and a teacher and a guide. And the people don't seem to realize that at some point separation is required, because why? We don't get freedom, justice, and equality from the Caucasian world. And people don't seem to understand that the price we have to pay for that separation, we have to separate our minds from you. Yes. Totally. For us to survive. And Minister Farrakhan and the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad is so right and exact that, when we look, I know I saw Sister might have it over there, but when I look at this final call and the front page, and it says, the ultimate challenge, the survival of the black nation. Because that's where we're at. Because all the time, all what keeps on happening every 6 months. So you've got Red Nose Day, and you've got Comic Relief, and whatever happens in between. So how I've worked this out is that every 6 months, there's some kind of charity that's to help those darker nations in trouble, and some of their people over here. But then you go to Africa, and you paint this whole picture that the country is in trouble, in such dire need. But then you have other African nations that are doing very well, like Namibia. So why can't you allow those African nations to work together to help build the country? It's because there's a plan afoot. There's a plan afoot. So when I look at this, and I'm thinking, I was just, my brother Richard came back from Saviour's Day, and he gave me one of these. When I'm looking through it and reading it, Minister Farrakhan says here, this was done back in 1979. And it says, we must put our minds on the raising up of the black man in America, in the Caribbean, in Africa, and wherever black people are. We must develop and strengthen our connections and build bridges of understanding to our people all over the world. Now that, to me, makes good sense. But then for that to come out, the machinations behind that, to stop that happening, is at foot. And all the time is to make out that we as a people don't care about our people in Africa. But then you have, Miss Dooley in Africa, she may be doing a good job highlighting the problem. But when you actually have this thrown in your face continually, and then you want to say that, to a brother or sister, why don't you go and do the job? You know the damage that you've done to us as a people. And the fact of the matter of truth hasn't been told. And that's why we as a people are ridiculed for being, for us who want to stand to fight for our people, to be now labeled, we're race haters. No, we want truth. We want freedom, justice, and equality. That's all. Yes, sir.
They say that the black diaspora sends more money to Africa than aid put together. That's right.
There you go. There you go. So you're teaching me on that. So that to me, again, and for that information, they won't even put that out in mainstream news. That's the problem. The truth is not being told, But that was one of the things which hit news this week. Yes, sir.
So every pound that goes into Africa in aid, £10 comes out.
There you go. There you go. It's a, you know, it's, was it not too long ago, you know, when you actually look and they were talking about the people who actually run these companies walk away with a couple of £100,000 a year as wages. And I'm saying to myself, yeah, are you really for the benefit of the people? You know, it's the hypocrisy behind it.